I guess it depends on where I've lived. So when I lived in New York City, I took the bus, the M104, to work every day. Which was a beautiful thing. It was one of these buses that not only went south, but then went to the east. I lived on the west side and went, so it had one of those routes. And it was so miraculous when I found that it stopped directly across the street from the building I worked in. So fantastic. So I loved it, and when I've lived elsewhere where there was a great subway, I take the subway everywhere.
Right.
Here I've been a driver because we're building out the transportation system, but I'm looking forward to taking the light rail, as I'm sure you are. I'm a bicyclist myself, although I don't ride the bike to work. I like to ride, and I'm very aware of the danger that people face while riding in LA. And
So when was the last time you rode a bike?
Yesterday.
You do it for recreation or?
Yeah, yesterday I did it for fun. Well, I voted in Santa Monica for the Community Corp financing, and as far as I know, for every 100% affordable project that ever came before the council.
Community Corporation is?
The nonprofit housing developer of the city of Santa Monica. When we had redevelopment money, we financed in a very strong way. And I think that's the answer. And I voted for them, I promoted it. I was particularly interested in what they call purchase and rehab. So buying facilities where people were already living in the community, bringing them up to code in a better way, allowing current residents to stay in their current housing. But it's clear now in LA that new housing needs to be built on a very broad basis. Rents have gone totally ridiculous. And you have 2 or 3 families and people packed into living rooms and garages. In the Northeast Valley, you have families living in garages. A couple of families in the garage, a couple of families in the house. This is unsustainable and we need new construction. Well, as to affordable housing, some of the boomerang funds which are coming back could be put into a rolling equity fund, perhaps, for affordable housing construction.
Boomerang funds, could you specify?
Boomerang funds are the funds coming back from the tax increment that when redevelopment got dissolved, some money is going to come back. So, and those are pretty sizable numbers for the county and for the city of Los Angeles. So what the government is going to do with them, you can put them into the general fund, but I strongly favor putting them into a facility to create more affordable housing. Work with the nonprofit developers to do that. I don't have a number of units goal like we had in Santa Monica, get an actual number of units. I don't have a number of units. I have more of a capital goal. Okay. So I like to get a certain amount of money into a program whereby the nonprofit developers can come and build affordable housing, and sites, work with cities to see where sites might be for affordable housing construction, work with communities, listen to the communities, where do you think you would like this housing built? If the county could partner with your city or some developers in your city, how can we put the right amount of money together to build the units? And I look forward to working with the cities, particularly the city of Los Angeles, because in the 3rd district, as I know you know, about 75 or 80% of the district is the city of Los Angeles. So having a close working relationship with the city, the elected leaders, many of whom have endorsed me, the elected leaders of the city council, the mayor, and figuring out how to have the county work with the city housing administration is a very important collaborative project that I'm looking forward to working on. As much as is necessary to make the transportation work. So whether it's bicycle and pedestrian improvements or shuttles to bring people to stops where there's no parking, that has to be done because the main lines, the ridership needs to rise to the level so that we can expedite the funding of the transit that is not yet secured. As you know, in the Purple Line, for example, the funding is secured to a certain place and then it's not secure. And under the current system, it's not a system really, under current circumstances, until work will stop and wait for the money, which I think is a mistake, right? I think we should figure out a way to have that work continue so you keep the workers working, you keep the drills in the ground, and work progresses. But that requires some rejiggering of the financing, even including the straw man proposal stuff. And I think it's very important to do that because you have to have the ridership to get the federal money. You have to be able to show that, and however you're going to get there, whether by bike, by by pedestrians, or by local shuttles, which would take people to the trains, it has to be done. And I think it will be done. And I think it's cheap. You know, honestly, and the big money is putting that big drill bit in the ground and hundreds of people working. That's the big money. Well, if you talk to people in general meet and greets, not on your blog, people want the light rail and the orange line. So they just want it. So right now, as I'm sitting here, I think that's a priority. The north-south connectors, they also want. The biggest near-term thing that I think should be done in the near term is to give all the college students, community college students, like the CSUN students, like as we did in Santa Monica, pass to ride free on Metro. I think the idea of having to go downtown, show an ID, get a special card so you can buy a pass for $25 a month is crazy. You know, I think you should just ride free with your college ID. I think that will relieve a tremendous amount of 101 traffic. I think it would boost the ridership on the existing bus lines, and it would bring people into the system who could then become activists for the system in route designations and other matters. I think that could be done in the near term. I think it would be great. I'd have the 101. I'd have I don't know, I'd call it a monorail, but I'd have some sort of train facility in the valley that zipped across the valley.